Well, to say we've been a little distracted by our top fuel project is the understatement of the century. You're shaking the cobwebs out of my head to remember all of this stuff. But we haven't forgotten about our 383, and over the last couple of days, we've been back on it, and we're making some serious progress. We're almost at a point where we're ready to put it back together again. So, the block. First thing is the block. Scrubbing with gasoline and wire brushes, and scrubbing with gasoline after that. I know that's my cleaning solvent of choice. You do whatever works for you. For me, it's gas. So lots of scraping, wire wheeling, scrubbing, and look. Ooh, how pretty is that? Yes. So yesterday we got a coat of paint on it and let it sit out in the sun and bake for the whole day. Give it some curing time. So the paint, didn't go nuts with this one. Well, we did a video a couple of years ago on how to get a long-lasting, beautiful paint job on your engine for under $1. And we did a brush on Rust-Oleum thing. We primed the block first. We cleaned the block with heat. We used a MAP gas torch, and then we primed it, and we let the prime sit and cure, and then we hit it. We brushed on red Rust-Oleum, and to this day, here, look, same block. Whoop, leaky header gasket. But yeah, you can see how nice this thing still looks after 3 years. So this one we didn't go as nuts with. I hit the block with the MAP gas torch to just burn out any impurities after we cleaned it, of course. And then I just spray bombed it. I didn't bother priming it. I just spray bombed it with Rust-Oleum red, which is the equivalent of an implement paint. So a lot of people ask about that. They ask about the Rust-Oleum, the brush on Rust-Oleum, and whether or not this type of paint is going to hold up under heat. And here's the thing with this. It's not engine paint. Engine paint's formulated for a higher temperature, but it's implement paint. And implement paint is intended to be sprayed on surfaces that are going to bake in the sun, direct sunlight for hours on end. And those surfaces will get hotter than your engine will. Engine block is going to see 210, maybe 220 degrees, well within the range of what this type of paint is capable of. You don't want to just use any old regular spray paint on it, because that stuff is not really impervious, where it won't stand up well to oil and gasoline and stuff like that. So try to use an implement paint. And like I said, I use Rust-Oleum. I've been using Rust-Oleum for decades. I love this stuff, and it does a really good job. No, I don't get paid from Rust-Oleum. They don't even give me nothing. And I wouldn't take it if they offered it, because that's how I am. So, painted the block. Oh, I have a pet peeve. So I got to say this now, because in the future, sometime in the future, somebody's going to hit their hands on this engine, and they're going to be like, that hack, he painted over dirt. No, my pet peeve is when people spray paint over dirt, right? Or any paint over dirt. Please, you have no idea. So as I clean this block, you see this right here? That's actually cast iron. There's several areas on the block that looks like I painted over dirt, but no, trust me, that's cast iron. That ain't coming off of there. So, just for the record, just for the future. All right. So we're going to let this sit and cure for another day or two before I do anything else to the block. But there is something I should go over here now, because we've done so many engine videos, and I never covered this part of it, and it's an important part. After you've cleaned and honed and done everything you have to do to your engine, and you're kind of ready to assemble it, there is one important step that you need to take, and that's to actually clean the bores. Now, I know they look beautiful, especially when they're wet down with whatever liquid you're using to lubricate the stones. They look beautiful, but they're not, because that crosshatch, it grabs onto dirt and it holds dirt. So even though it looks clean and you can run your finger over it and nothing comes off, an important step before you assemble any engine that you've done any type of honing on is to, I'm doing this with one hand, okay? So you want to take a white paper towel, okay? And automatic transmission fluid. And you want to get some ATF on there, just like that, okay? And you want to wipe down the bores. Now, like I said, this is all like pretty fresh stuff. Clean to the, clean appearing, but look at the dirt that comes out of there, okay? So, you want to keep repeating that in each cylinder until the paper towel comes up clean, right? Very, very important. That oil that's in, or the dirt that's in there, that's trapped in there, as soon as you start the engine, the oil is going to start flushing it down into the crankcase, and also it'll prevent the rings from seating as quickly as they should. So, very important step. Don't skip that one. Anytime you hone an engine, wipe it down with ATF. White paper towels. Okay, so the block is done, but we still have a lot of cleaning and preparation to do on the rest of the parts that go in and around the engine. Now the pistons, next most important thing in our order here. So we ran the pistons over the wire wheel, and you can see the job that did. But these aren't complete yet. They're not ready to go. A couple of steps still need to be taken with this. Again, this is something that you don't want to ever skimp on. You got to clean out the ring lands. Right? So here's what you need to know about ring lands. The ring has to be able to freely float in the ring land, and it has to have space behind it, even when it's completely compressed. There has to be some space behind the ring. And that's because one of the functions, one of the ways these engines work, especially older cast ring engines, is that when the spark plug fires in that cylinder and the pressure spikes, one of the things that happens is that pressure is intended to get behind the ring. It needs some space in the ring land. The pressure has to get behind the ring and push the ring out into the cylinder wall. That's why you see these older engines, these older cast ring engines, always have that ring, the ridge at the very top. That's from that process. Spark plug lights, the cylinder pressure spikes, and the ring gets shoved out into the cylinder wall. So the ring lands, even though the piston's looking really good when we hit it with the wire wheel, you still got to clean the ring lands. So what we do with this is we take an old ring. Let me wipe this off. Take an old ring, okay, and we break it like so, and we make a nice little tool for ourselves by wrapping it with electrical tape. So this way you can hold the ring like so. And here, let me position this camera so I can, okay. And you want to pass the ring through each of the ring lands. Push it through just like this. You see the dirt that's coming out of there? So, very important step. After you've done that, then you can gas the pistons, for the final cleaning, and they're ready to go. So I've got to go through all of them with this. Top ring and second ring. The oil ring, you can't really do it practically with the oil ring. And so, whatever method you need to do to get in there and just degack the oil ring. But the compression ring and the second ring, very important to decarbon them like that. What else was there? We'll talk about, a couple of people asked about the factors going into assembling the engine, and we'll get into this. It has to do with clocking the rings. So we'll save that for the next episode after I've got this all cleaned up. And then we're going to do the oil pan. We're going to check the baffling, change the baffling, rebaffle, whatever it is, the oil pan, to make sure that the oil stays where it needs to be. So we'll probably do that next. But in the meantime, I still have tons of cleaning and drudgery and thankless, meaningless, I hate this kind of work, but as we said before, it's Zen. This is your chance to bond with your engine, right? All right, so that's it for now. Just letting you guys know, we haven't forgotten about this thing. We had a couple of comments. Guys were like, oh, now he's got the dragster thing going. He's going to forget all about the 383. No, we ain't forgetting about the 383. We're making progress on it. It's going to be a good engine. All right, see you tomorrow.